amended second criminal complaint. And I think that has, well, you can tell me if that's resolved the issue or not. So do you at this point agree that that resolves the issue in regards to the first amended complaint, count 3, and are you withdrawing your motion to dismiss?
Yes, it does resolve the issue, and we are withdrawing that motion.
All right, and then you have received the amended second criminal complaint and been able to review that with your client?
Yes, I have received it and reviewed it with Mr. Jelks. He does have a copy. We would waive its reading, and we can proceed to the prelim.
Okay, very good. All right, now then preliminarily for the prelim, I understand that the state provided an offer this morning. Have you had enough time to go through that with Mr. Jelks?
Yes, I have.
All right, and does Mr. Jelks wish to proceed with this preliminary hearing?
He does.
Right, Mr. Jelks, I'm going to speak directly to you. I think part of that offer was that you waive your right to preliminary hearing today, and that would preserve the offer. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to take the offer, but it would keep the offer on the table, so to speak. You understand that once the state calls their first witness, that offer will no longer be available. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, and you would like to proceed with your preliminary hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. All right. They can call their first witness.
Figure out at this time, the state will call Detective Jason Light to the stand.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. State and spell your full name in the record.
And actually, I'm going to have you take a seat and do that microphone for me. Thank you.
Jason Leick, L-E-I-C-K.
Thank you. Detective Light, how are you employed?
I am employed by the City of Green Bay Police Department as a detective.
How long have you been employed with the City of Green Bay?
Just about 26 and a half years.
Previous to your employment there in law enforcement, were you employed with any other law enforcement agency?
Yes, it was. I had a year and a half in the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department.
Okay. And with respect to your role then at Wisconsin Rapids and Green Bay, you've been a law enforcement officer how many years?
It'd be 28 in June.
With respect to your role as a law enforcement officer, you're presently a detective in the investigative division.
Correct.
Previous to that, were you a patrol officer?
Previous, I was in the detective division, but I was assigned as an SRO, school resource officer, where I did that anywhere from 4 to 5 years. I was assigned to Green Bay West Quadrant. Previous to that, I was patrol both in Wisconsin Rapids and approximately 15 years here in the City of Green Bay.
In your role in those capacities, do you have training and experience with respect to investigating criminal instances of conduct?
Yes, ma'am.
And on occasion, has that included investigations involving attempted homicides and homicides,
Yes.
as well as disorderly conduct and bail jumping?
Yes.
With regard to your role in law enforcement and specifically a detective at Green Bay, at some point did you become involved in a stabbing that occurred on December 8th of 2024 at 1409 Western Avenue?
Yes, I did. I wasn't working when that case or the call came out, but my next working day, which I believe was December 9th, my supervisor assigned me that case. So I think December 9th, 2024.
And in your role in investigative, is it common that patrol officers respond to a scene, but detectives then become involved in the investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
And as a result of that, do you rely on the reports and details of your colleagues at the Green Bay Police Department when you're investigating cases?
Yes.
Now, specifically, at some point in the course of the investigation, did the victim have cause to participate in a photo lineup?
Yes.
And with respect to that, did they indicate who the person was that stabbed them?
Yes.
And had there been also a nickname involved with that assailant?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
All right. And what was that nickname?
The nickname was Maine. I don't know if I mean, I had 3 different spellings for Maine: M-A-N-E, M-A-I-N, and then M-A-I-N-E. That was the initial information we had.
And when you have cases, then when you, people could have street names or nicknames, is it important for you to also then conduct a photo lineup or identification of a suspect?
Yes,
And in this case, did the victim identify someone through a photo lineup?
yes,
And that person was identified as Maine?
yes.
And what was that person's name?
Jaharrie Jelks.
The individual that was identified as Jaharrie Jelks, do you see that individual seated here in the courtroom today?
Yes,
And where, if you could point out where he is seated at this time?
he's sitting directly in front of me, wearing an orange beard, and his hair is a little bit longer, but
He's at the end of counsel table?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant, Jaharrie Jelks.
The record shall so reflect.
In the course of coming to testify here today, did you have cause to review a document?
The criminal complaint.
So I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
And does this document say second amended criminal complaint?
yes, it does.
And just so I'm clear, it's clear for the record, because I don't know that I showed you this, you had previously reviewed a different complaint.
I would have reviewed the first criminal complaint.
Okay. And if the only thing changed with respect to this was the charges, the probable cause section that is on page 3, continuing through 11, that's something that you would have already reviewed.
Yes,
The information that you reviewed in that probable cause section, did that appear to be accurate and consistent with your knowledge of this investigation?
yes,
At this time, Your Honor, the state would move for the admission of the second amended criminal complaint.
Any objection?
No objection.
Then I will admit exhibit number 1.
At this time, Your Honor, the state has no further questions.
Right, very much.
Thank you. Good morning, Detective.
good morning, sir.
So after you got assigned to this case on December 9th of 2024, you, I assume, familiarized yourself with the investigation that had been done up to that point.
Up to that point, correct.
Okay, so other officers had been involved the night before or the day before, right?
That's accurate.
And you reviewed what they had learned so far.
Their details don't all go in right away, but the information in the complaint on the 9th I would have reviewed, yes.
Okay, so you got up to speed as far as you could. Okay.
Yes,
And you had been advised that this incident would have taken place, did you say 1409 Western Avenue?
I believe that's where the call came from.
Okay, and I wanted to get into that a little bit. Okay, so the 1400 block of Western Avenue,
Yes.
is that like an apartment complex?
It's the 1400 block would have apartment complexes and residential.
Okay, and the call came in from a certain address, that would have been 1409?
Yes,
Okay, and through the course of this investigation, did officers look for a crime scene where the stabbing had actually taken place?
yes,
And through that investigation, did they determine a probable location for that crime scene?
I don't know if a location was ever really determined. They went to several different addresses in the 1400 block of Western to try to locate witnesses or the scene. You know, they were in 1425 Western, which is a large apartment complex. They knocked on several different doors, but they weren't ever able to locate a specific location.
Okay, and just to flesh that out a little bit, you had been informed that there was some sort of physical altercation that resulted in DEW being stabbed several times, right?
Correct.
Okay, and he was bleeding heavily when the police and ambulance showed up that night, right?
Per the report, yes.
Okay, and so you never found a apartment where there were, for example, blood stains on the floor or on the furniture, right?
That's correct.
And you never found anywhere where there was evidence of some sort of scuffle, like, for example, disarranged furniture or broken objects, things like that.
That is correct.
Okay. And at one point, did DEW describe the incident taking place inside the residence of a person he identified as Bear, B-E-A-R?
Yes.
That would be a nickname?
Yes.
And did you identify, you don't have to say the name, but did you identify who that person was through your investigation?
Yes.
Okay, so you feel confident that you know who Bear is?
I had previous investigations involving that same nickname, so
Okay.
going in, I had a pretty good idea.
Okay. And so you know where Bear lives, right? Or where he lived at the time?
Yes.
And did officers go to Bear's apartment on the night of the incident?
Yes.
And so they did not see any signs of a disturbance in Bear's apartment that night?
They knocked at the door and no one answered.
Oh, right. They didn't enter Bear's apartment that night?
Correct.
Did they go and actually enter the apartment on a later date?
They entered the apartment building and walked around. I had contact with Bear a couple days later, and we were not able to gain access to his apartment.
Okay. So let's just say on the night in question, which would have been the night of, I guess the early morning of December 8th, no officers actually entered Bear's apartment unit.
Correct.
Okay. But officers were able to enter the building. So is this a building where there's like an interior hallway that leads up to his unit?
Yes.
And there weren't any signs of like a blood trail or anything like that in that hallway?
Correct.
Okay. Now, DEW provided several statements to law enforcement both that night and on subsequent days, right?
Yes.
Some to you, some to other officers?
Correct.
Okay. Did he provide a physical description of the person that assaulted him?
He gave a rough description, yes.
Okay.
He
And
gave several different ones, I believe.
okay, that's what I was going to ask about. So he gave several different descriptions that didn't necessarily agree with one another, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And were those descriptions all fairly rough?
Yes.
Okay. Did he also, he indicated to law enforcement that the person that he'd been in this altercation with went by the nickname of Maine, right?
Correct.
And did he talk about how long he had known this person named Maine?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did he give consistent accounts of how long he had known this person?
Don't recall.
Do you recall him, I believe, let me check my notes. Do you recall him telling you that he hadn't seen Maine in 4 years prior to this incident?
Yes, I responded to that. I didn't recall because I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years.
Okay. But do you recall him telling you that he hadn't seen Maine for 4 years?
Yes.
And are you aware that he told another officer that he'd only known Maine for 3 years?
That's where I was
I'm
getting.
going to object to the relevancy with respect to that 3, 4. That still doesn't have bearing. We already admitted a criminal complaint where there's a photo identification. So I think it's outside the scope and not relevant when we already have the admission of the complaint.
Well, and I'm going to let you respond, Attorney Welch, but I think we're getting into the realm of credibility, and that's not for this court to decide today in terms of different versions of events. But what is the relevance?
No, I'll accept that ruling, Your Honor, and I can move on to a different subject matter if that's all right.
Yes, I'll sustain that objection.
Okay. Moving away from DEW's statements, I want to talk a little bit about other evidence that exists, okay? There was a report that, when Mr. Jelks was arrested, he was driving a certain automobile, right?
Correct.
And that automobile had been called in as stolen?
Yes.
Okay. And had been called in as from the person who called it in resided on, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know approximately how far away from the probable crime scene that the person who owned that automobile resided?
Your Honor, I'm objecting to the relevancy. I mean, we're going way beyond the scope. I didn't even charge the stolen vehicle. I mean, if counsel wants me to look at that, I can add that. But at this front, that's not what's charged here, and that's not what we're here for.
Attorney Walsh, what is the relevance of that?
I will just take the court's ruling on that objection.
I'll sustain the objection. I don't find relevance for today's purposes.
Okay. As to your investigation of the stabbing, obviously DEW identifies Mr. Jelks as being the person that was there that stabbed him. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Other than DEW, were there any other witnesses that saw Mr. Jelks in the 1400 block of Western on that night?
No.
Okay. And you didn't recover any other physical evidence that would show that he was on that block on that night?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Anything further from the state?
No.
All right. Thank you. You're excused. State have any?
Wait, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I needed to clarify one thing.
Okay. Please take a seat.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Detective Lake, I heard a bunch of questions in the beginning, and counsel was having you testify to the fact that I think what they were calling into question possibly was the jurisdiction or the venue. At the time of the investigation, when you then met with Bear and the incident was occurred at Bear's apartment, the place where the stabbing would have occurred. Okay, let me just strike that. I'm going to start over. Throughout the investigation, at one point was it then
I don't think the investigation ever showed that it occurred inside one of the apartments. It would have been, information was it could have happened or reported it happened inside of one of, or just outside. But that apartment building would be in the 1400 block of Western Avenue, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Brown County.
So the answer is yes, it occurred in the city of Green Bay, Brown County, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need, Your Honor.
All right. With that limited scope, anything further, Attorney Walsh?
No, thank you.
All right. Now you are excused. Thank you. All right. Attorney Lindco, any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Attorney Walsh, any witnesses today?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, and I'll take motion argument.
At this time, Your Honor, based upon the admission of Exhibit 1, the criminal complaint, and the testimony of Detective Blake, we are moving for a bind over.
Attorney Walsh.
Your Honor, we will object to bind over for the record. I'll waive any specific arguments.
All right, thank you. All based on the testimony of the witness as well as Exhibit 1, which I've had the opportunity to review, I find that the state has met their burden of proof for the purposes of preliminary hearing. So I will bind this matter over and we'll schedule for arraignment. This is a branch 3 case.
I have Monday, April 7th at 11:30 a.m.
Monday, April 7th at 11:30. That will be, I assume that's the earliest date you have.
That is where we.
Then we'll take that.
All right, very good. The bond will continue. Thank you.
Thank you.